pretty pushy. We're gonna have to work with you on your personal space. All right, so this is, I want to say Knox or Murphy. No, this is Charlie. I work with a lot of dogs. All right, as you can see, Charlie is I have some the Turkey Trainer liver, soft chicken liver treats in my hands, and he's all about them. Now, he has separation anxiety, but I think in his case, it's a very light, minor case of it, because he usually only manifests chewing the couch, or only manifests or he only chews the couch when it's thunderstorm. So one of the things for a lot of dogs, thunder and lightning are really hard for them to deal with because they're inside, they don't see it, they just hear it, or they see the flash, and their imagination makes it in the world's worst thing. So what I would suggest, and I talked to the guardian about this off camera, is next time it thunderstorms, put on a raincoat and a hat, and go out for like a half an hour walk. Dogs get over things by literally moving forward. So for about 5 minutes, the dogs are like, this is horrible, I don't want to do this. After like 5 minutes, they're like, this is awesome. There's puddles, I can splash in, I can drink whatever I want, I can roll around in mud and get really dirty. And so for dogs, they think that's a really good thing. Now, I'm basically doing this, I'm going to teach him in this video how to stay, but as you can see, he's just super nosy, so I wanted to kind of get a little bit inside of his system, have him realize that's not going to get me the treat. He's used to, I think, just taking and kind of forcing his way, and that's obviously, what happens a lot of times, we shove the dog back or push the dog back, and then it just teaches the dog to do more of it, and you can see this is very inappropriate behavior. Now, I don't mind, I'm not taking it personal, but if we had a guest come in, we wouldn't want our dog to behave like this with the guest. Usually, right now, he's focusing on getting the treats. Usually our dog is focusing in the wrong capacity, and the focus works against us. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can teach your dog to focus so you can use it with you. All right, so I have the high-value Turkey Trainer treats. Sit, sit. So I'm going to have one treat in my hand. I'm going to say, stay, stay. Just like 1 or 2 seconds. Sit, stay, stay. 4 seconds. Stay, up, sit, stay, stay. 6 seconds. So each time I put the treat in his mouth, I'm saying stay right after I put it in his mouth. Stay. Stay. Notice when he locked in on me, and once he realized he focused, his breathing stopped down, his farting around stopped down, slowed down. So the idea for this, now every dog is going to be unique in how they do it. When you teach the stay, a lot of people teach it wrong. I teach it for the 3 Ds. First for duration, up to 5 minutes with the dog right here. Then for distance, then with distractions. Now when I trained my puppy Quest to stay, and I'm still in the process of doing it, but I had to do 2 weeks of 1 second stays. So for a lot of dogs, staying is hard. Like, you have a handful of treats, why are you not giving them to me? What am I not doing? So you try to do other things. Now you want your dog, if your dog is staying, and then right before you give it the treat, it decides, let me get over here, buddy. It goes like this, and then I give it the treat, it thinks this is what got it the treat. So your dog needs to be staying with about 2 seconds of nothing, unless you're only doing 1 second stay, before you give it the treat. Like you can see, he has absolutely no impulse control. And this is actually a correlation why he has separation anxiety, because he doesn't know how to contain himself. Charlie. So, all right, so what I do, I'm going to break it down. Charlie, sit, sit. I'm going to have the treat with the hands behind my back, and I'm going to hold it just with one. So I go stay, like a stop sign, and then I turn it to my chest, and I count 1, 2, 3. Take it, stay. Say the word after it. Now, if at 2 seconds he starts getting up and moving around, and you're trying to go to 4 seconds, back up and do 1 second stays over and over until he can stay for that 5 times in a row before you go to the next step. Charlie. Charlie. Sit. Now my preference is the dog stays in a sit or a down, whatever they start off at. So start in a down, stay in a down. If you notice that he always goes into a down, just start with the down. Don't go against the path, go with the path of least resistance. Sit. Stay. Or that would be a sit, sorry, I was a residual. All right, sit. Stay. stay. Try not to fumble the treat. He is so excited. His pupils are about as dilated as it looks like they could possibly be. Did somebody give you some MDMA before I got here? So if he's too excited, this isn't a good time to do it. Maybe take him out, play fetch a little bit, take him for a walk, bring him back inside, let him relax, and then get back to doing it. I can do it. I'm good at what I do, and I do this for a living. Most people get very frustrated with dogs like this, and they give up. So put your dog in a position to succeed. So the idea is you keep on practicing this. Now, when it comes to dog training, you really want to practice 60, maybe 120 second maximum. Most people practice too much. After a while, the dog gets fatigued of doing it, stops doing it. You get frustrated they're not doing it like they were before. They get you're frustrated to do it, and they don't want to do the exercise again. Sit. Stay. Stay. 15 seconds. Now, you're going to keep on going, and it might go like 3, 6, 9, 12. Next time you might do 4s. Next time you do 5s. You can skip and play around with it, whatever iteration you want, but get to the point where you're up to 5 minutes. Now, you might want to keep a little bit of a chart so people know what I was just doing last time. But again, if he's really excited, he's not going to be as productive as if so there might be times where you have to back it down a little bit, the iteration, how long they're waiting. But keep doing this until you can get up to the point where he can sit here for 5 minutes in front of you, either laying or sitting, whichever one. And again, on the hardwood floor, it's probably easier for him to lay. And at the end, you say, pop the treat in his mouth and say the word stay. Now, before you end it, after, let's say I've just done 15 in a row. Well, actually, I'll show you 2 in a row real quick here. You need a release word. It should never be the word okay, which is a top 50 US word in terms of common usage. Sit. Sit. So we'll do a couple. Stay. 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 Now when I'm done, I'm going to take a treat, I'm going to toss it just outside of his access point, and I'm going to say a word once he gets it with his mouth. Break. I say release or break. You can use whatever words. I say break or release, so I have a hand signal to go with it as well. So you might practice 5 or 10 times in a row. The last treat you should throw to the side. Don't say the word until he touches it with his mouth. This way you're teaching him the only way that the can be released is this command word. So we practice a bunch of iterations, and at the end of the exercise we talk to the side. Now first we're going to do this, like I said, it's going to be, well, not like I said, but you want to do this in a bunch of micro training sessions throughout the day. Dogs process what they learn when they sleep. So if you practice it and then he takes a nap and then you practice it again, he should be a little bit better. You shouldn't see a substantial difference, but if you practice a whole bunch of times without him sleeping in between, you'll make much better progress if he naps. Don't tell him to nap. Just do it like for a minute or two, then do your own thing, and then a couple hours later do another minute or two. And throughout the day, you're going to keep periodically doing these. Now, because there are a lot of people in this family, I would suggest that everybody has to practice with each dog once a day. That way it's spread evenly amongst everybody else. It's literally asking people to spend 1, 2, at the end up to 5 minutes each a day. That's a very small ask. But you will notice if everybody's doing this multiple times a day, you're going to notice he's focusing, he's getting into it, he's developing more self-control, and you're going to accelerate the process having as many people. If we have 6 people practicing this a day with each dog, they're going to be better at it. Even though she's not as bad as he is in terms of personal space, a lot of these separation anxiety and the other things, it's nice to have them both have this command down. Now, they should each have their own unique command word. So if you put them both into a sit stay and you want to call just him, you give him as the release word, maybe her word is break. So you only say release for him, and that way when they're both in stay, we can release one dog independent of the other. Okay, so once I get to the point where I'm at 5 minutes and you got 5 times in a row. So before you go to the next iteration, 5 times in a row at that iteration before you go to the next one. Does that make sense? Okay, so, God, you are pushy. And drooling. I did not wet my hands. All right, so the next step is we're going to start moving away. Now I'm going to pantomime this. I don't think he'll actually do it. Sit. Stay. 1. Count to 2. Come back. Stay. Actually, so I take the number of steps I take away. I start off, and this is my own arbitrary thing, and you can do this however you want. But if I step away 2 steps, then I count to 4, come back, give him the treat, and say stay. So and then at the very end, I'm going to toss the treat to the side. The tossing the treat to the side, you want to do for the first, like, if everybody's doing it, if we're doing it with each dog once a day, 6 times, 6 people, at the end of probably the second week, you can probably stop dropping the treat and saying the word. You can just say the word break or release when we're done. So, and incorporate a hand signal as well. So the idea is that first we're going to be just 1 foot away, then 2 feet, and each time, if I move 5 feet away, I'm counting for 10. That's where my starting point is, but again, you'll vary it up as you need to. Now let's say that I get to the point where, let's say that there's a wall right here, and, let's say he's there, and there's a wall right here. So I get to the point where I'm this number of steps away without falling back into the deal. And now I take 1 step, and the wall is here, so he can't see me. I just count to 1, come back, go give him a treat, and say the stay word. Next time I do it, I try to go to a count of 2. But if he gets up, then that's too much. Then we might back up and just practice 1 second being out of sight. Now, when you get to the point where it's out of sight, you should be able to be at least 10 or 15 feet away from him, working on distance with him staying in a stay. The idea, that's why we do the 5 minutes where you're right here. It's the easiest capacity possible. Then we start making it gradually more and more challenging. Now, one last little thing is if I'm the dog and I'm like sitting, and then I'm about to move, and I've been sitting for, let's say I'm at 3 minutes is what I'm supposed to stay, and I've been staying, it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and I start moving like I'm going to lay down. As a human, you could kind of move your hand real quick. We call this a flash lure. It'll capture the dog's interest. So I'm the dog, I'm starting to move down. Then I'm now refocused and paying attention. That's when you want, like I said, at least that 2 seconds before you give the dog the deal. Now, also, if we're doing the just for duration, and the dog is looking at you, and we're at like, let's say it's 10 second stay. You go at 8, 9. The dog looks like you're 10, 11. Keep counting. The dog doesn't have to look you in the face because eventually we're going to be outside. And then eventually looks back at you at 19, then you pop the treat in his mouth. Unless I look here for long enough and then I get up and start going there, but usually they won't. Usually, like I said, they just get distracted because they're like, oh, I'm just sitting here, you're shoveling treats in my mouth progressively longer and longer periods of time. They don't realize it. That's why I make it very progressive so they don't realize it. But the dog, like I said, doesn't have to stare at you the whole time. So if it's looking at you and it looks down, looks around, checks in, no, okay. Oh, treat. That's the second one, is for distance. So you're going to move far away and you're going to gradually elongate the amount of time, again, outside of his line of sight. But remember, the whole reason we're teaching him to stay is because he has separation anxiety, and I think being away from his humans, especially during a thunderstorm, it's a lack of self-control. While teaching him, the great thing of application for this, right now he's a Velcro dog. His guardian probably hasn't gone to the bathroom by herself since she got him because he's got to always be with her. He feels incomplete or insecure when he's not with her. So now she can put him in a stay here and walk right over there to the sink, get a glass of water, come back and sit down, and then give him the release word. It's like, oh, that was tough, man, but I saw her the whole time and nothing. So again, we get to the point where we can help the dog practice being alone, and eventually put him in a stay, and we go into the bathroom, or we go and change clothes in the bedroom. Gradually elongate it. Now, general rule of thumb when it comes to dogs is once they can do something for 2 hours, you don't have to practice beyond that. That's the maximum. I know it would be a long time to sit around practicing for 2 hours for a stay, but the idea is when you put him in a stay, you cannot auto-release. And this way he can practice being calm. Most dogs with separation anxiety panic because they're left alone without their humans. A lot of times they're restrained in a kennel or a house or something. Well, now we're practicing. You can see the humans, they're there, and you're not being restrained. The dog is restraining itself. The dog is doing the work, so it develops self-control and discipline. Now, the third stage, when we get to the point where we can be outside the guy's line of sight for up to 5 minutes, the next stage is to incorporate distractions. Let's say this is a TV, and we had a DVR on it, and he's reactive to dogs. Well, now we might want to practice the stay while there's a dog on the TV barking. But that might be too much for him. So we might just play it and just have it paused so he can see the dog. Some dogs can see the TV, some they can't. It depends on their rods and cones. If he can, pause it. So you're doing the stay and you can see the dog behind you, but it's not moving, so it's easier to process and for him to deal with. And eventually it gets to the point where now, okay, we can have it moving, but with no volume. That's too many elements for him. So now when the dog can be running around doing anything without no volume, he's fine. Now we do the same thing, and now we play it at volume 2. So he can hear it just barely. And the next time we do it, volume 3 or 4, we gradually bump it up until it sounds like the dog is really there and really barking. It's so loud, and he's ignoring it because we've taught him how to filter it out. we're getting to a time of the year in a couple of weeks where you won't want to do this, but before we get to that, like if we have a lot of kids walking up and down the street after school, practicing right there by the front door with the screen door closed and the inside door open, he can see kids and people walking by, but he still has to focus on you. So you want to look for distractions, but progressive distractions, so they're very gradual and progressive so that he's able to process it and get better at it by practicing his stay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. So this is one that, like I said, it just takes a lot of practice. And so if everybody in the family is doing this once a day, my goal would be to see that you guys within within a week, you guys should be up to the 5 minutes if everybody's doing that, at least once a day. But maybe set a goal for like a week or 10 days and set goals and try to meet those goals. And then get to the point where within 14 days or maybe 20 days, we can be outside of his live sight for 5 minutes and so on and so forth. And then start practicing. Once you've got it, use it. So have the kids put him in a stay and then go eat dinner when we get up to that iteration. Or put him in a stay, go out in the front yard. And he can see you, but I'm still staying right here. And then come back and release it. All right, what did you think about that, Charlie? It's like, I think that this will be going a lot better if you just give me all the treats right now. This is how you can teach your dog how to stay.